By 1219, Genghis Khan had built the largest contiguous land empire the world had ever seen. That same year, he dispatched a trade caravan of roughly 450 merchants westward into the Khwarezmian Empire, a powerful state occupying what is now Iran, Uzbekistan, and Turkmenistan. The caravan carried merchandise and, according to Mongol records, an offer of peaceful relations. The governor of Otrar, a man named Inalchuk, had every member of the caravan arrested, accused them of being spies, confiscated their cargo, and had them all executed. Genghis Khan responded through proper diplomatic channels. He sent an embassy demanding accountability. Shah Muhammad II, ruler of the Khwarezmian Empire, had the lead envoy beheaded and returned the head. What followed was total mobilization. Between 1219 and 1221, Mongol armies pushed through the Khwarezmian Empire in coordinated columns. City after city collapsed. Samarkand, one of the most prosperous urban centers in the medieval world, was taken and its population dispersed. Urgench, another major city, was methodically razed. The Persian historian Ala ad-Din Atamalik Juvaini, writing in his chronicle Tarihi Jahan Gusha, recorded that 50,000 Mongol soldiers were each instructed to execute 24 civilians from the city. Rashid al-Din's Compendium of Chronicles, alongside numerous Persian and Chinese sources, documents the broader campaign. Historian casualty estimates range from 2 million to 15 million dead across the two-year invasion. That spread reflects the gaps in surviving records, not any uncertainty about the scale of destruction. By 1221, the Khwarezmian Empire had been erased from the map. Shah Muhammad II spent his final days as a fugitive, hunted across his own former territory by a dedicated Mongol detachment. He died alone in exile on a small island in the Caspian Sea. The governor of Otrar, the man whose decision had set everything in motion, was captured. Chronicle accounts record that molten silver was poured into his eyes and ears. The king of the Iceni tribe in Roman Britain died. His name was Prasutagus. He had governed as a Roman client king, and his will split his kingdom between his two daughters and the Roman emperor. A deliberate arrangement designed to protect his family's position after his death. Rome ignored the will completely. Roman officials moved into Iceni territory and treated it as land taken by conquest. Tacitus, writing in Annals Book 14, records that Boudica, Prasutagus's widow, was flogged by Roman soldiers. Her daughters were assaulted. Iceni nobles had their properties seized outright. Boudica united her people and built a coalition with the neighboring Trinovantes tribe, who carried their own accumulated grievances against Roman occupation. The combined force advanced on the Roman settlements of Britain. Their first target was Camulodunum, present-day Colchester, which served at the time as the Roman capital of Britain. It fell. The Temple of Claudius, the most visible symbol of Roman authority in the province, was torn down. The coalition then turned toward Londinium. The Roman governor Gaius Suetonius Paulinus was deep in a military campaign in Wales when the revolt erupted. He could not reach Londinium in time. He made the decision to leave it undefended. Londinium burned. Verulamium, present-day St. Albans, followed. Tacitus records approximately 70,000 Romans and Roman allied inhabitants killed across the three settlements. Cassius Dio, writing independently in his Roman history, records a higher figure. Both accounts are consistent in their description of the scale. Archaeological excavations at all three sites have uncovered distinct burning layers that align with the period. Suetonius Paulinus eventually consolidated his forces and met the coalition in a set-piece battle at a location that historians still debate. The Roman line held, the coalition collapsed. Tacitus records that Boudica chose poison over capture. She died on the field. In 1701, a feudal lord named Asano Naganori was summoned to the shogun's court in Edo to assist in organizing a formal state reception. An official named Kira Yoshinaka was appointed to guide him through the required court protocol. The full details of what passed between them are not preserved in surviving records. But at some point during the proceedings, Asano drew his dagger inside the palace and wounded Kira. Producing a weapon inside the shogun's residence was a serious breach of law under any circumstances. The shogun sentenced Asano to death by seppuku. That same day, Kira received no punishment of any kind. Asano's domain was dissolved. His samurai, stripped of their lord and their standing, became ronin, masterless men with no place in the existing order. There were 47 of them. Edo period government records document what unfolded over the following 2 years. The ronin scattered. They took up ordinary work, relocated to different cities, and gave every appearance of men who had accepted their circumstances and moved on. Their leader, Oishi Kuranosuke, spent time in Kyoto conducting himself in ways calculated to persuade Kira's informants that the group had abandoned any thought of action. Kira, who had initially kept his guard up, gradually stood down his security. On the night of December 14, 1703, the 47 assembled and moved against Kira's compound in Edo. The assault continued for several hours. Official records document 16 people killed inside the compound. Kira was discovered hiding in an outbuilding. He was given the opportunity to die by seppuku in accordance with samurai custom. According to later accounts, he did not respond. The ronin killed him and removed his head, which they carried to Sengakuji Temple and placed at Asano's grave. They then presented themselves to the shogunate. 46 of the ronin were sentenced to death by seppuku. One was spared on account of his age. The 46 were interred at Sengakuji, alongside their lord. On January 7, 1355, 3 men entered the monastery of Santa Clara Velha in Coimbra, Portugal. Their names were Álvaro Gonçalves, Pedro Coelho, and a third man recorded in Portuguese chronicles as Pacheco. They had been dispatched by King Afonso IV. Their target was Inés de Castro, the companion of Afonso's son, Prince Pedro. The precise legal nature of their relationship was contested at the time. Pedro would later assert they had been secretly married. Whatever Afonso's specific reasoning, he had determined that Inés represented a threat to the stability of the throne. She was killed in front of one of her children. The 3 men returned to the king. Pedro said nothing publicly. He waited. Afonso IV died in 1357, and Pedro ascended to the throne of Portugal. Among his first acts as king was a formal demand for the extradition of the 3 men who had killed Inés. All 3 had fled to Castile. 2 were returned. Álvaro Gonçalves and Pedro Coelho were brought back across the border. Pacheco was never found. Pedro had both men executed publicly. Fernão Lopes, writing in his 15th century chronicle, Crónica de Dom Pedro, considered the most authoritative medieval Portuguese historical source, documents that their hearts were removed. Álvaro Gonçalves through the chest, Pedro Coelho through the back. Lopes records that Pedro declared neither man could have possessed a heart, given what they had done. According to Portuguese royal chronicles, Pedro then had the body of Inés exhumed from her burial site. She was dressed in royal garments and crowned posthumously as Queen of Portugal. Members of the court were required to approach the body and render homage. The specific details of the ceremony vary across surviving accounts, but the exhumation and the coronation are recorded in multiple independent Portuguese chronicles. On November 13, 1002, King Ethelred of England issued a command. Every Dane living in England was to be killed. The order was carried out the same day. It entered history as the St. Brice's Day Massacre. A royal charter issued by Ethelred shortly afterwards survives in the historical record. In it, he describes the Danes settled across England and refers to their killing as a most just extermination. The charter stands as one of the most direct pieces of documentary evidence for the event. In 2008, archaeologists excavating beneath St. John's College in Oxford uncovered a mass grave containing the remains of young adult males bearing clear signs of violent death. Carbon dating placed the burial in the early 11th century, consistent with the period of the massacre. Among those reported killed was a woman named Gunhildr, said to be the sister of Sweyn Forkbeard, King of Denmark. This detail appears in later sources rather than the Anglo-Saxon chronicle itself, and historians treat the attribution carefully. Whether or not Gunhild died that day, what followed left no ambiguity about Sweyn's intentions. In 1003, Danish forces landed on the English coast. Sweyn Forkbeard led them. What came next was not a single campaign, but a sustained and grinding series of operations stretching across more than a decade. The Anglo-Saxon Chronicle records raid after raid through the years that followed, each pushing further into English territory. Ethelred's repeated attempts to purchase peace produced no lasting results. By 1013, Sweyn had moved through England with enough force that organized resistance collapsed. Ethelred fled to Normandy. The Anglo-Saxon Chronicle records that the entire nation submitted to Sweyn as king. Sweyn Forkbeard was declared King of England in late 1013. He died 5 weeks later, in February 1014, before a formal coronation could take place. Ethelred returned from exile. The kingdom his massacre had destabilized would take generations to fully recover.